Hello, how you doing? My name is Chris Graham, this is Marco here. Welcome to another edition of our Sporting Bet World Cup videos. We've done loads of videos back at the end of May, of course, for the group stages. Marco was in incredible group stages. We're now looking at the last 16 though. It's been a great World Cup, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Absolutely fantastic for goals, cards, comeback wins, celebrations, shocks, surprises. It's been brilliant.
Absolutely. Let's just look at the first half of the last 16 games taking place on Saturday and Sunday, which should be a great weekend. And we'll look at the game between Brazil and Chile. Brazil 11-20 with Sporting Bet to win this fixture. Chile almost 5-1, and the draw is 3-1. Brazil for me average so far. I'm sure that's quite a common view, Mark. And Chile, in many ways, the stars of the tournament with their wonderful pressing play. They dethroned Spain as well. I know I've been seeing a lot of people tweeting that they will be getting involved with Chile on Saturday. Will you?
No, I'll tell you why. I think, yes, they do interest me at 5-1, of course they do. But for me, Chile are playing not too far off their potential best. Brazil, on the other hand, you cannot say that at all. They're far, far away from being at their best. They've won 11, drawn one of their past 12 games, scored 37, conceded only 4. 7 of those 12 games we've won 0. They've won 17 of the last 19, only lost 1 in 24. All the stats are there, but the thing for me here is the fact that Brazil are playing at home. Yes, we've talked about the pressure cooker atmosphere, and it has probably worked against them so far, but you still look at that record, no defeats in 40 at home since 2002 when they'd won the World Cup and came back to a homecoming friendly against Paraguay. Going back in competitive games, they're unbeaten since 1975 against Peru. 42 wins, 18 draws, 0 defeats in 60 games. That's an astonishing record. They've also got the Indian sign over Chile. The last 12 games, they've won 10, drawn 2 against Chile, scored twice at least in 10 of those 12 games as well. Chile really did not want to be playing Brazil. They said that pretty much in the past 12 months. Arturo Vidal, arguably for me, Chile's star, is clearly not match fit. He's played the first 2 games, he's rested. Will he be 100%? I'm not sure. Chile's defeat against Holland as well really sets not alarm bells, but disappointed me a little bit. Jorge Sampaoli was kind of outthought, I guess, by Louis van Gaal in that game. It was their third defeat in 18. Germany, of course, Brazil, the only other 2 teams to beat them in that time. But you look at their attacking threat, they will go out and try and score goals. They scored at least twice in 17 of 21. It's just that defence, which is really, I said it in the group previews and I'll say it again, 2 clean sheets in 7 now. It's against Spain and Northern Ireland. 3 of their back 4 are under 6 foot tall. They'll be targeted by high balls. Of course, you've got Fred, Hulk, muscular players in that Brazilian team too. And also defence as well. You've got 2 players who play in midfield who are relegated with their clubs. As well as Gonzalo Hara, who was released by Nottingham Forest. Only managed 5 clean sheets in 16 in qualifying as well. So goals are only 3 to 4 here if you want to go for over 2.5. I think it's a little bit short, to be honest, but it probably will bank. For me, there's 2 bets here. I think Chile are going to look to have another fast start in this game. It's something that's been quite common for them. They scored 4 of their 5 goals before half-time, scored first in 15 of 23 competitive games, led at half-time in 12 of those 23 as well. Because when they conceded the first goal, which has happened in 8 of their 23 games, they've won 1, drawn 1 and lost 6. So bear in mind Brazil's 2 goals conceded came in the first half. You can have Chile to score a first half goal at 39-20, which appeals. And then there's also the case of the second half being the highest scoring, which has been a real common feature of this World Cup. But actually in the 6 games featuring Brazil and Chile, it's only banked in 1 of those 6 games. 5 of Brazil's 9 have come in the first half. We mentioned Chile's fast starts as well. The first half highest scoring is 21-10. I think that's plenty of appeal there. But I think Brazil are probably going to go through.
Yeah, I'm surprised the quote's getting dangled at you as big as 5-1. It's not enough though, but you make some logical points there in Brazil. For Mark, we'll march on to the quarterfinals at the end of this exciting Chilean dream. Game 2 and 2 more South American sides here, and 2 Colombia definitely been tremendously exciting in this World Cup, haven't they? They're even money to win this match against Uruguay. The villains of the piece really after what happened against Italy. Extraordinary stuff. Let's not talk about Suarez because I'm bored of hearing about it, to be quite honest. So let's just kick on. Colombia even money, Uruguay 27-10, 3-5 to qualify Colombia, 6-5 for Uruguay to reach the quarterfinals. Where are you at here, Mark?
Colombia win this in 90 minutes,
wow.
Quite simply. I had a few doubts over them going into the tournament. They've been swept away by 3 wins in 3. They played pretty much a reserve team against Japan and won 4-1 in quite an awkward group. I think not the most not the strongest, but it was a complete range of styles in that group. They've won 6, drawn 4 of the last 10 now. Under Jose Peckerman, they've won 16, drawn 7 and lost 3. Those 3 defeats came when they didn't score. They will score against Uruguay. They've scored 9 in their 3 group games so far, despite averaging under 50% possession in all of them. They've only failed to score 1 in the last 14 now. They've won 17 of the last 19 when they've scored in the game. They will get opportunities in this game against Uruguay. That dodgy defence isn't getting any better. James Rodriguez continues to impress, one of the stars of the tournament. Teo Gutierrez looks decent leading the line. Cuadrado's even started finding some consistency. Of course, we're waiting to hear the news on Luis Suarez. Likeliness is he'll be suspended for this game. They were absolutely awful without him against Costa Rica. He dragged them to victory against England. Quite a feisty game against Italy, of course. But he scored 6 goals in his last 8 World Cup games. He's completely central to their hopes. Top scored in South American qualifying with 11, had the most shots on target at the last World Cup. Cavani, for me, is disappointed. Their 11 is completely littered with battlers and dogged players who lack invention. There's just no X factor when Suarez is brought out of that team. They've only lost 1 in 9, which of course was Costa Rica, but they've only scored 8 in the last 7. 3 clean sheets in 16 qualifying matches, to me, tells a story about that defence. They lost 5 of their 8 away games. Colombia only has won 4 of their 8 away games in qualifying. So for me, it's got to be Colombia here. I think it's all down to Suarez here, and without Suarez, Uruguay are just out of the game.
Sure, and worth pointing out as well, Colombia finished 5 points ahead of Uruguay in qualifying as well. So it's Colombia for market even money. Okay, moving on to the Sunday games then, and it's the Group B winners in Netherlands. Everyone was down in Netherlands before the tournament. They've been fantastic. 9 points out of 9 for Holland, and a shade of odds against you at 21-20 to beat Mexico, of course, who are reported to finish second in Group A. They're 13-5 to win this fixture, 31-20 to qualify. 9 out of 9 points for Holland, Mark. And in some ways, headlined by that fantastic Day 2 win against Spain, that 5-1 win, phenomenal stuff. And Mexico unbeaten in a group involving Brazil and Croatia. That team's respect.
Yeah, definitely. They've really impressed me. Two teams I got completely wrong before the tournament. I think a lot of that credit has to go down to the 2 coaches, Louis van Gaal and Miguel Herrera, 2 great characters as well. The Dutch even surprised themselves with their qualification from this group, winning 3 from 3. Mexico, that disastrous qualifying campaign where they used 47 players, 4 coaches, only won twice in 10 in the Hex. Van Gaal said they had a 20% chance of reaching the quarterfinals before the tournament. They got a fantastic chance against Mexico in my eyes, playing some superb football. Robin and Van Persie linking up brilliantly. Going back to the last World Cup in 2010 in the final, since then they've won 21 of the last 26 competitive games. 17 of those 21 wins have been by a 2-goal margin at least. In those 26, they've only lost 3 games, and that's when they conceded the first goal. I think they can win this game. I think originally I looked at the fixture and I thought, before even looking at the prices, I thought I'd be with Mexico, but seeing the Dutch odds against is something that does interest me. Mexico, of course, have really impressed. They played all their games in the sweaty northeast as well. They'll be used to the conditions. This game in Fortaleza. Plenty of their players have impressed. They've now won 7, drawn 3, lost 2 under Herrera. Coming into the Croatia game, though, they'd won 3-1, of course, in that game. But before that, the 4 previous matches had only produced 3 goals, all going under 1.5 goals. They conceded either 1 or 0 in 9 of the last 10. So they're quite a defensively stout team here. But I just think coming up against the Dutch, their attacking threat, I think there's going to be goals at least, because the Dutch have conceded in 9 of the last 11 away games. When you exclude Andorra from that, they scored at least twice in all of their qualifiers, scored at least 4 goals in 4 of their 10 qualifiers as well. For me, I do like the half-time draw here as well, specifically the 0-0. 10 of 16 Mexico qualifiers were 0-0 at half-time, as have all 3 of their World Cup group games. 8 of Holland's 10 goals have come after half-time in this World Cup as well. So for me, I think Mexico, as much as they'll put up a decent fight, I think the Dutch are probably the more likely winners. Interestingly, though, I thought the Central and South American teams have won 15, drawn 2 and lost 3 against non-Central and South American teams at this World Cup. That's something on their side. But I just think the Dutch, I think you can get a bigger price if you back Holland at 6-5 to score over 1.5 goals. So that tied in with a 0-0 half-time score is for me the 2 bets here.
Okay. And on to, without doubt, the most intriguing tie, I mean that absolutely genuinely. the second round fixture as well, the first half of the last 16. We don't know the second half at this point. It's Costa Rica against Greece, and Mark, what a story here. Costa Rica 6-4 to win this tie, Greece 2-1. Pretty tight knit into qualify prices, 3-4 Costa Rica, 19-20 Greece. The surprise tie of the round, Mark, without any doubt. The tightest tie of the quartet as well that we're talking about here. Of course, we did a special promotion last month, the group giveaway, guessed the 1-2 in each of the 8 groups, and Costa Rica, only 21 tickets had that forecast, with Costa Rica first, Uruguay second, and only 0.9% of people who took part had Costa Rica winning the group. This has been a massive surprise, Mark, without any doubt. Can their dream continue here and see Costa Rica for the first time ever reach the last 8?
It certainly can. There's absolutely no reason to suggest it won't, but I do have an issue with these prices, and seeing Costa Rica at 6-4 makes no sense to me at all, despite how well they played in those 3 games. Their head coach Jorge Luis Pinto models himself on Jose Mourinho, and that's been shown. They've now conceded either 0 or 1 goal in the last 16 competitive games. But at 6-4, they just make no appeal. Of course, Uruguay were missing Suarez in the opening game. The Italians looked so laboured in the game, the second game, played in the heat, and of course then they held an England team who've just flopped completely. Arriving in Brazil, they'd lost 4 of their 6 coming into it. They've only won 3 of 9 now. Excuse me. Kept 3 clean sheets in 16, and only scored 2 or more goals in 2 of the last 9. Like Clarice, they've got a tendency for low-scoring games as well. 7 of their 10 qualifiers in the Hex went unders. Managed to score in 9 of the last 11 World Cup games, of course, but this game's taking place in Recife. The conditions don't actually suit them too much compared to the Greeks. Of course, the Greeks have also played in the northeast as well. Coming into this game, they've got Katsouris back from suspension, which will be a boost. Doubts over Kone and the goalkeeper Karnizis, who went off early in that victory over Ivory Coast, where they were the better team. Yeah. The 3-0 scoreline against Colombia suggested they were completely outclassed. They weren't. They actually played all right in that game for large periods. Survived against Japan with 10 men, despite having only 30% of the ball in that match. And they're a robust team. And I just think 2-1 quotes. You've got to be with Greece on this for me. I think they're a straight play on the win here. In competitive games under Fernando Santos, they've won 18, drawn 7 and lost 4, keeping 15 clean sheets in those 29 games. They've actually scored in all of those bar 3 games. People think of Greece as scoring 0-1 goals quite regularly. They have failed to net in 5 of their 7, but you look at the competitive games record here, and they do grind out results and do score goals as well. And in the last 16 games in which Greece have scored, they've won 14, drawn 1 and lost 1. So I think at 2-1 to win in the 90 minutes, I think you've got to be with Greece here. I think they're an excellent bet.
There's another reason as well, Mark.
Go on.
Why should we be Greece? The year ends in 4. We all remember what happened in 2004 when they made the bookmakers summer, winning the European Championships, odds of 100 to 1. Mark, it's been great fun. We're back soon with the bottom 4 ties in the last 16 of this fascinating World Cup. See you then.